So I'm Emma. I am part of the student recruitment team at EY. And today we are going to have a bit of a welcome, and then we will have a bit of an introduction to EY-Parthenon by Chrissy, one of the directors within Turnaround and Restructuring team. Please feel free to ask any questions in the chat box. Just as and when you think of them. Chrissy will also have a bit of a Q&A at the end after she's finished speaking, so it would be good to have some questions. And then we will have a Q&A with the panelists, which are some of our graduates that are currently on the team. So feel free to think of any questions that you want to. Yeah, we can go ahead and get started. Chrissy, I'll pass it over to you.
All right, thank you. Hi, everybody. My name's Chrissy Wright. I'm a director in the Turnaround and Restructuring Strategy team, which is in strategy and transactions. So I'd like to welcome you today to this offer holder event. I hope you're excited to be starting your career at EY. I was you nearly 30 years ago. When I was 17, I'd won a scholarship with Arthur Andersen, which was one of the big five in those days, which involved a year of work at 18, and then I was sponsored throughout university. I had an absolute blast at 18. I'd left home, moved from Belfast to Reading and started work, and I was treated the same as any of the graduates. So that's something EY does too, so it makes no difference whether you're an apprentice or a graduate, we all get treated the same. I was in audit, which was a really good learning base, but each summer I used to sneak round to the restructuring team when I went to work during my university there. I went to work in the restructuring team, and that's where I found my job when I graduated in Manchester. Fast forward, the Enron scandal causing the collapse of Anderson's, and our restructuring team was transferred to EY in 2002. And I have been here at EY and in Manchester ever since. So why have I stayed? I love it. I love the people, I love the variety of the work, I love the flexibility they've given me throughout my career, and I feel really aligned with EY's values. I do actually really enjoy working in restructuring. It mixes strategy with hands-on experience when we undertake insolvencies. So we don't just advise our clients how to do things, we also have to work out how we're going to implement a proposed strategy, and then we have to implement it. So restructuring itself deals with companies that are stressed, and that can be from a very small amount of stress to very exceptionally distressed, if not slightly dead. So my career has focused on the very, very distressed end of the scale, so sort of insolvencies. So I'm a qualified accountant and I'm a qualified insolvency practitioner. EY has paid for all of those exams and given me time off to study. And that's that variety and challenge of this work that I love. One day you could be running a cardboard box factory and the next running a bank, which I did for 8 years. We don't always get to save businesses when they're distressed, but when you do, the sense of achievement reminds you why you do what can be a very tough job. So throughout my life, my personal life has evolved alongside my career. I've been able to work with my partners to change the days I work and the roles I undertake. So I worked on an insolvent bank for 8 years, which was fortunately based in Manchester. I had both my kids during that time, and when I returned from my second maternity leave, I was fully in charge of the day-to-day running of that bank and the wind down of that bank. I even had my own corner office, which was very nice and very different to your open plan EY offices. But once we'd wound the bank down and dealt with sort of many complex legal issues, I didn't want to really travel for work because I had young kids. So I took a slightly different direction. And for the last 8 years, I've specialised in insolvency employee matters, and I now lead the national team that deals with every EY insolvency and the company employees that come with that. So I found myself on the other side negotiating and actually enjoying working with the unions, where we helped save over 3,000 jobs, to the next day having to make 2,000 people redundant. But we don't just work on big high-profile jobs, we also work on small jobs where there's a handful of employees. We've got a current job where we're looking for a buyer and it just has 30 employees. But you become quite invested in the businesses you help save. So I sadly watch the saga that's playing out. But no one foresaw the energy crisis when we sold it. Nobody foresaw that energy crisis, which has made steel production a loss-making endeavour for the last 3 years. But we'll see what happens and how that evolves. Each job I work on, I get to not just know the company staff, but I also get to work with a variety of colleagues from all over the country. And this has been really enhanced by the pandemic, as people can work both remotely and be out on site. So our teams tend to be more diverse than just your local Manchester team. Over the last 2 years, I've also been building a new team to help deliver insolvencies we take on nationally to ensure we have best practices developed and we embrace improvements that we can get from technology. So I am all over Copilot at the moment, trying to work out how that can assist us in the work that we do. So this team we have is important to developing our graduates in understanding the fundamentals of insolvency, but it's also helping to get people to realise they have to deliver to a high quality and consistency. I'd say that there's loads of opportunities in EY to get involved in many things. Really, it's your time and it's your passions that can open the doors. So I was maybe 3 or 4 years into my career, and it was then a very male-dominated profession. I wanted to network with like-minded females, so I set up a professional women's network, which EY kindly sponsored. And so it meant that I could network with clients in banking and the legal profession, and many of these people remain good friends and clients to this day. I've helped run the EY Women's Network in Manchester for the whole office. And networking is really important for your career, but also you have to do things for yourself. So for me, it's important I give stuff back to society. So I've joined a couple of the different EY Ripples programs that you can get involved in. One of them I did last month. I went into a school in a deprived area to help improve the kids' employability skills. And I've recently just signed up to be going into primary schools to showcase the importance of numeracy in real life. It's a real passion of mine that people need to understand maths to be able to live and to be able to cope in the real world. And maths can be easy if you work out how to help teach people it in the right way. There's lots of other opportunities out there. If you want to learn to use a new piece of software, or if I wanted to improve my leadership skills, EY has lots of courses which I can attend in my own time. I can do it via online courses, and there's lots and lots of face-to-face courses as well. EY has formalised their learning through what you'll hear about a lot, which is EY badges, which people proudly post on LinkedIn, and you can even work towards a tech MBA. But I think I'll leave that to you lot, because you can teach an old dog new tricks, but some of it's quite hard. So yeah, so there's lots to do. I'll just finish on this bit with some personal advice that I tell all our new starters. Grab every opportunity you can when you join EY. It will help you grow as it increases your breadth of understanding, and that's how you get your breadth of understanding from all the experiences that you get to do. Whatever task you're given as you start out, do it to the best of your ability. Sometimes some tasks can be really dull, I'll be honest, they can be, but building trust is key to developing within your team. If someone does something well, you'll go back to that person to give them more work, and over time it will increase in complexity. And definitely no question is stupid. Ask if you don't understand. It's the only way you're going to learn. I think I wish I'd asked more when I was younger. I now don't hesitate when I don't understand, as I think over the years I've learned that people might say things, but they don't actually always understand it themselves. So do ask why, do ask those questions. And lastly, have a plan for what you want to achieve in your career. But before you achieve it, ensure you've sorted out the next plan, because your career is lots and lots of steps. So just make sure you continually relook at your plans for what you want to get. I think that's the end for that section. Are we talking about EYP now, or what
Yeah,
we're doing
I think
now?
I think that could be the next question. There's no questions really coming through for you yet,
Okay.
Chrissy. So if you want to do a bit of an EYP, then we'll move on to the Q&A. Thank you.
That's okay. So you may be aware that last week the service line you're joining, Strategy and Transactions, has rebranded as EY-Parthenon. It's a significant step forward, and I want to sort of explain a little bit further what that means for you. So Strategy and Transaction service line will be going to market under the EY-Parthenon brand. It gets called EYP a lot, just so you know, but EY-Parthenon brand. And all facets of strategy and transactions will now operate under that EY-Parthenon banner. it's something that restructuring's actually been under for the last year or two. So I'll come back to that in a minute. But why is it happening? So it's a change that's driven by EY's commitment to remain at the forefront of the strategic consulting and transaction market. So by unifying under the EY-Parthenon brand, we're positioning ourselves as a unique tier 1 player in the global professional services industry. And this move will allow us to offer even greater value to our clients, foster innovation and differentiate ourselves from our competitors. And the advantages to yourselves is it will open new opportunities for your professional development. You'll have access to a broader range of projects and clients, and it will enhance your skills and leadership capabilities. So we're hoping that it's going to, well, we believe it's going to make us stand out among our competitors, and we can continue to attract and retain the top talent, drive growth, and maintain our tradition of delivering exceptional value to our clients. So as I said, so I'll sort of give it a bit of a personal bit. So restructuring and strategy that has always sat under underneath the service line. We've been EY-Parthenon for a year or two, so we've had it for quite a while. So EY-Parthenon, it's a well-known brand in many countries around the world, but maybe not so much in the UK, but it is exceptionally strong in the US. And so what we feel that EY is doing is leveraging that brand, because strategy is just as important as transactions. So it's using that. It's basically Parthenon is what they call a strat house, a strategy house in America, and so using that brand name to enhance our strategy and transactions service offering. One good thing, and I don't know whether the other people on the Q&A will agree, but the blue is definitely better than the yellow. That's all I'm going to say. I definitely prefer the blue. But it's had no significant impact on my day-to-day, apart from having to learn to spell Parthenon, which you do a lot because it's in your email address. But what I do truly believe is that it will, now that all of strategy and transactions is underneath Parthenon, I think it opens up EY to new clients who may not have fully realised the breadth of services that we can provide. So it's all a good thing. It's not about splitting it up, by the way. We've all been through all that. We've all had Everest. That's all finished. EY is one brand. They're just using a slightly different brand name to improve, I suppose, exposure, isn't it, within the market? That's the EYP bit. Has anybody got any questions?
There's no questions come through yet on that, Chrissy. So I think if you're happy, we'll just move on to the Q&A. As mentioned, if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll obviously get to them. We will start with the Q&A panelist. So I do have some questions to get started, and then obviously if you do want to put any of your questions in the chat, we will also read those out as well. So I'll just call out sort of your name, panelists, and let you know so that you're aware of who I am talking to. So we can get started. I'll start with you, Sam, just because you're the first one on the screen. What support did you get in your first few months at EY whenever you started?
Yeah, well, I think when I first started, EY pairs you up with a buddy who's also a grad, probably a year or two above you, and they're going to be the ones that you reach out to if you have any questions about sort of where the toilet is, or just any random admin questions, and they can obviously help you with doing timesheets, some of the very typical stuff that we do on a daily basis. And then you also have your counselor, who's usually a manager or a senior manager who is well experienced, done years at the job, and is going to help you both professionally and just all areas of the work. So I think you've got these two kind of support partners that you can reach out to at any time, and obviously you have everyone else in the team who you can ask any question to, and they're going to be open hands. So yeah, I think you have lots of sort of people that you can reach out to.
Perfect, thank you. Just while we're on it, actually, Sam, I completely forgot. Do you want to just introduce yourself as well, just before we get into the Q&A? And I'll do the same for each of the panelists. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Hello, I'm Sam. I'm from the Financial Services Transaction Diligence team. So we're part of the Transactions and Corporate Finance team, and I've started in September 2023. So it's been about a year and a half. I'm also doing the Chartered Accountancy exam. So I'm 2/3 of the way in, and I'll be finished with all my exams hopefully in by the end of this year. And yeah, I'm based in Edinburgh, and our team's kind of in junction with the team down in London in Churchill Place. So we kind of travel here and there. Yeah, and that's me.
Perfect, thank you. Lucas, do you want to do a bit of an introduction next, please?
Yep, sure, no problem. Hi guys. Yeah, so my name is Lucas. Similar to Sam, I've been at the EY for about 18 months, and I joined in September 2023 as well. I'm based in the London office, just by Tower Bridge, and I'm in transaction modelling, which again, very similar. So that sits within the transactions and corporate finance team. Very quickly about transaction modelling, that can cover several different types of financial modelling, and that could be either operational modelling or things like project finance, like kind of debt advisory, or forecasting sales into the future for businesses and companies, etc. And that's kind of incorporated with some data analytics as well. So that's just in a very brief sentence what that is. And I'm also doing the ICAS Chartered Accountancy exams as well, and hopefully on track to finish this year as well. And that's a bit about me.
Perfect, thank you. Anna, would you like to give a bit of an introduction next?
Hi everyone, nice to meet you. I'm Anna. I similar to the others so far, I joined back in September 2023. But my first kind of interactions with EY were actually back in 2021, when I joined as a spring intern, and then I did the summer internship in 2022. So although I've been employed here for 18 months, I've actually kind of known the team a bit longer than that. I sit in the turnaround and restructuring team in our Churchill Place office, so financial services focused, and we actually also, our team is unofficially merged with the corporate finance team, so I've been getting involved with both restructuring and M&A projects so far.
No problem, thank you. Max, would you like to go next?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Max, currently working within the strategy and execution team, which is formerly just the strategy branch of EY-P. I'm based in more London as well, under the UK&I branch, and I joined just over 6 months ago in September 24, so slightly newer than the previous candidates. Within strategy and execution, we largely focus on either corporate strategy or commercial due diligence. So corporate strategy can be across a range of sectors, from like national systems operators, kind of your BPs, all the way down to kind of like K-12 schools and other data centers within TMT. And then when you're doing kind of the due diligences, we're largely working with large cap and mid cap private equity houses.
Perfect, thank you. Frances, if you want to give your introduction next, please.
Of course. Hi all, I joined back in 2022, so I'm coming to the end of my grad scheme now. As part of that, I also completed the ACA, so Chartered Accountancy with ICAW. Within work, I'm part of the economic advisory team that sits within the VME subservice line. So as part of that, we sort of use economics to solve real problems that clients have. I've had the opportunity to work across many sectors, so things from an offshore wind outlook for a port authority in Scotland to large-scale due diligence pieces on European telecom operators.
Thank you. And finally, Eva, would you like to give your introduction, please?
Hello, my name is Ava Levin. I joined with Max in September 2024 in strategy and execution. Max covered a bit of what we do overall, but some of the sectors that we really focus on are education, energy, life sciences, and consumer goods, as well as technology, media, and telecoms. And I've done a mix of strategy and due diligence projects.
Perfect, thank you. So I'll just start with a few questions, and again, if you have any questions that you want to ask, please just put them in the chat. The first one I'm going to ask is, do you, Lucas, just because I know that you were one of the ones that talked about a professional qualification, can you just give a bit of an insight into sort of how you found the professional qualification, if you have any sort of top tips that you would give to candidates around sort of balancing work life and study life?
Yep, sure. So yeah, the qualification incorporates kind of two main things. One of them being the exams. So there's 13 exams altogether. For the ICAS one, it might be different for the ICAEW. And that's broken down into blocks. So you won't kind of be working and like learning at the same time. You'll have kind of designated time for being essentially back in college, which feels a bit weird because it is a bit like being back in sixth form and doing A levels again. So you'll do that, and they'll teach you everything you need to know to the paper. Tutors are really supportive. There's loads of resources there to help you with that, and then you're given some study leave to revise, and then you sit the exam. I think they've changed it now, so the exams are now in person, or because when I did it, some were in remote, but that might have changed, so don't quote me on that. And EY give a lot of support for that. They give you study leave, as I mentioned, and you've also got your peers as well who can help you, and people tend to revise together because it can be a bit of a stressful time. But yeah, as long as you stay on top of the work, and I guess that's probably my best advice, is to definitely just follow the guidance from the tutors, and do all the recommended homeworks and the reading outside of lesson hours, and yeah, you're absolutely fine. So yeah, you can be a little bit funny being kind of in and out of work for your first 2 years. But yeah, once it's done, then it's done, and yeah, hopefully never have to do another exam again.
Great, thank you. And then Anna, just a question for you about how you find the transition from student life into working life. Is there any sort of top tips or advice that you would give to some of the new joiners?
Yeah, it's obviously a big transition. I went to uni in Edinburgh, so I was getting used to living in London, keeping to kind of a corporate schedule, all of that. I think top tips is to try and not let yourself get too overwhelmed, because there will be a lot of information in your first few weeks, months at the job. And just as Chrissy said, like, ask all the questions you need, because everyone's been in your shoes at one point or another. And something that I really enjoyed to kind of ground myself was to get involved in the kind of extracurricular things that EY offers. So I play netball for EY every week, and I really enjoy that, kind of to get into routine, but also I've met so many people across the business through that. So if that's your thing, would recommend that. There's also kind of CSR opportunities. So the EY Foundation has lots of things you can get involved in to raise money. Kind of whatever you want, there tends to be something out there for you that you may have done something similar at uni, and I found replicating that really helped me get into a rhythm.
Perfect, thank you. And then Max, we'll just go on to you. Could you give the new joiners just an insight into what a day in the life at EY would look like for you?
Yeah, of course. I think a normal day in the life is probably getting to work around 9, and that's mainly our meetings are put at 9:30, so they're kind of our daily stand-ups, but just getting a bit earlier just means any work that you've got done, any emails that have come through from clients overnight, you can address. So yeah, at 9 we have kind of like our daily stand-up where you basically say what your plan is for the day, any blockers that you expect to encounter, and that's just kind of when the team is all there together. From that, you're doing kind of like client work up until about 11, and this can really vary day to day. So whether or not it's kind of adapting PowerPoint, doing some analysis, doing some modeling, doing some expert network calls, can all change. And then between kind of then and lunch, you're probably having one call with the client. Often they quite like daily check-ins, so it's always good to kind of meet at the start. Get to lunchtime, our cohort's really close, so we all actually go to lunch together. We go down to the canteen and have kind of like 45 minutes, and actually recently it's been really sunny, so we've been going outside to the Scoop and having some lunch there. In the afternoon, it's kind of much what you're doing in the morning, so just working through kind of your day-to-day work, you know, speaking to managers, going for the occasional coffee walk as well if it's particularly nice, and then towards the end of the day you may have kind of another team meeting just to regroup, and then if there's any kind of outstanding actions for the evening, you may do that. And then I guess depending on the day it is, you might either be working a bit longer. So again, that's just the normal work, but at 7:30 you'll order food together and eat it in the office. But if you're not having to work and you're a slightly more chill project, there's loads of stuff happening. So whether or not it's a case team dinner, cohort drinks, kind of doing any social activities. So we've got like an EY-P volleyball and a football thing kicking off soon, or just kind of going home and going to the gym as well. So that's a bit of a brief overview.
Perfect, thank you. I think a couple of people have just joined. If anybody has joined and you have any questions that you want to add in the chat box, please feel free to add them. Francis, I'll move on to you next, just with the next question. Just what is your favourite thing about working at EY at the minute?
Oh, I think my favourite thing about working at EY is genuinely the people that you get to meet. You get to meet both within the organisation itself, as well as the clients that you get to work with. You work with experts in their field, you get to meet people who are really influential in making decisions. So it's an amazing opportunity to expand your knowledge and to make connections that are going to go throughout your entire career. And plus, you know, the rest of the graduates on my cohort are amazing. It's really good to join a team that's full of people that are really smart, really engaged, really interesting. And yeah, people, in short.
Perfect, thank you. Eva, could you give the new joiners some top tips on how to prepare for a client meeting?
Yeah, I would say in terms of preparing for a client meeting, you want to make sure that you have all of your notes together and everything that you've worked on, and you want to feel really comfortable with it. And when I am preparing for client meetings and just doing work generally, one thing that I often like to do is ask other people how they would approach a task, whether that's someone who's my manager or another new joiner. Watching someone else do 1 or 2 minutes of the same task, you can often learn how to approach things differently or think about them differently, and it can really improve your efficiency and just the way that you approach problem solving, which I really like. And then just generally making sure that you feel really comfortable and well read on the topic is always really important. One way to achieve that is I like to take time to track and reflect what I've learned. So taking some time at the end of each week and saying, okay, these are my goals in terms of the skills I wanted to improve on. This is how I've done that. Or also just these are the topics I wanted to learn more about. What do I have left to learn about? What have I really learned? It helps me feel more comfortable in being able to communicate the content that I've been really focusing on that week.
Perfect, thank you. Next question I will ask to Sam. What's been your proudest moment since joining EY?
I think it's probably being part of one of the biggest projects that I've been on, and it was probably one of my earlier projects that I was staffed, and it actually came out in the headline news, and it was a big M&A deal with 2 banks merging together, and I worked on that for about 3-4 months with many different teams involved. We had like TD team, we had, transaction diligence team, we had a turnaround restructuring team. Many different parts of EY came together to provide a solution for our client, and it was a very long and tough process. You know, sometimes we had late nights, but I think just being able to see that as an output in the news and reading about, you know, reading about that in the articles really kind of hit me, being like, wow, this is something that like I've took part in, and you know, I've made an impact. So yeah, I think that's probably been one of my proudest moments.
Thank you. The next question I'm going to ask to Lucas again. Is there anything that you would recommend for new joiners to do to prepare before they join?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think in terms of what I kind of wish maybe what I'd known before joining and what I can recommend is I think definitely you should, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you might have already been linked up with a buddy, or you might soon be before you join. So definitely do make sure you pester them about kind of what things you can get involved in, and any kind of direct advice as well that they might have as well. Anything else? I think particularly if you're doing the chartered accountancy exams, which I assume most of you are, then just kind of make sure, perhaps because you'll kind of be straight into that as soon as you join, so maybe just don't agree to start going to lots of different events, particularly in maybe an October time and around that period, because you might find you have to cancel those plans if you've got an exam that day. I'm trying to think. I don't know if any of the other panelist guys can want to jump in here if there's anything else that I probably missed, or if there's anything else you guys would recommend. But that's a good question, actually. So yeah, I think that's probably what I kind of wish I'd known before I joined. But again, if anyone else has anything to add, then feel free.
Yeah, I'm happy to kind of speak about it as well. I think the main thing I'd say is obviously you've all got a bit of time before you join, and as soon as you start working, it will get quite intense. You will be kind of like living, working, and then kind of you've got fun at the weekend, so actually just try and enjoy some downtime whilst you can. I'd say take the opportunity to kind of just go and travel, have some fun for a bit, and just really enjoy yourself, because as soon as you get into work, that's when it starts. And then I think, yeah, what Lucas said about kind of trying to reach out to a buddy, or even if you kind of know somebody from that might be joining already, I don't know if you've been put in contact with kind of each other's emails, but just reach out, maybe go grab a coffee or something, because it's always good to have one face kind of on the first day as well that you can kind of chat to.
Great, thank you. Anna, I'm going to ask you the next question because I think you briefly touched on this one. It was just, is there any activities we can get involved with outside of work? So, for example, volunteering in clubs. And I know that you had briefly touched on that, so it might have been for somebody that has just joined.
Yeah, sure. I mean, just speaking from my experience, there's a whole sports network that offers a variety of different sports you can get involved in. So, I don't know, paddle, golf, you name it, there's likely a team or several teams. There's also volunteering, as I mentioned. I know the EY Foundation organise at least one trip annually. So I think this year they're walking Hadrian's Wall, and last year they went all the way to Angkor Wat over in Cambodia. So there's kind of opportunities near and far, I guess. And even just within your kind of your team, more generally in my team, we're always kind of organizing smaller socials, and as the junior person, I would definitely recommend kind of stepping up and taking on that role if you can, whether it's literally just organizing a team trip to the pub, or you know, whether it's like a client, whether it's an offsite, because you can show that you can take on initiative, and that you're not just there to do the work, you know, you're there to kind of get to know everyone on a more personal level, which I think helps when you're in those tough moments on the projects, if you know people a bit better. So there's lots of different things. That's just what I have tended to get involved in, the sport and the volunteering, but would definitely recommend exploring it when you join.
Perfect, thank you. And then Max, I'll just ask you the next question. So what did you find the biggest challenge in the transition from uni into the workplace?
I'm not sure I'm the best person because we had a year off before we started. So how did I overcome it? I travelled for a year and went on a ski season. I don't know if anyone wants to maybe speak to that a bit better. I mean, I can give it a go anyway. I'd say the biggest challenge is probably a bit of discipline. So I guess at university, you have a lot of freedom. You've got a lot of kind of like downtime as well. And obviously at work, you don't necessarily have all that free time that you would want. So you've sort of got to plan your day a bit better. You know, if you're the sort of person that's just like, oh, I've got to write my essay in the next 48 hours, it's probably not going to work like that here. So, you know, you have your stand up, just take down kind of like your tasks for the day. And one of the things that I do is kind of on a shared OneNote, I'll have a page of like all my tasks for the day, and then basically send that link to my manager so they can literally see me ticking it off. I'd say as soon as you do join as well, it's also really useful to almost be like overly kind of communicate with your manager. So just kind of turning around to them saying like, oh, I've completed this task, I've completed that. So yeah, I'd say a bit of discipline, and then I guess again, it's very dependent on how uni was for you guys, but you obviously can't really be going out the whole time during the week. You've got to show up at work, be on your best form. So yeah, that's probably a different transition as well.
Perfect, no problem. Does anybody else have anything else that they would like to add to that question? No. No problem. If not, we can move on to the next one. The next one, I don't really want to just choose one of you, so it might be good for somebody that is doing one of the accounting qualifications. Somebody has asked about the difference between ICAS versus ACA. Is one more difficult than the other? But I know there's only a certain amount of you that actually are doing a professional qualification, so if there's anybody that would like to answer that, just feel free to speak up.
I can speak to that one, if that
Yeah, no
works.
worries.
Yeah, so ICAS versus ACA. So the ACA is run by the ICAW, so the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales, but ICAS is the Institute of Chartered Accountants in Scotland, and essentially there is no difference between the two qualifications at all. They follow a very similar exam structure. They'll have some that are open books and that you've got to prepare for. Yeah, I think the graduates are quite evenly split depending on which board and syllabus that's followed. At least I've met people that do both. I know Lucas sits just over for me in the office and he does ICAS and I did ICAW, so there's not any big difference. You'll both go to college. College is very similar. You'll get similar tutors, similar content, similar amounts of support and preparation, and you'll get time off to help you prepare for both. So whichever one you've been put on, there's no real difference. And they're also interchangeable as well. So being recognised at the ICAW means you're recognised at ICAS. So if you're ever working abroad, you've got exactly the same international recognition. Because I think, don't quote me on this, but I feel like Australia and New Zealand, we also have recognition. So that gives you the right to practice as a chartered accountant abroad as well. But if anyone on ICAS wants to chime in.
Oh, great, thank you. And then I will just ask this question, I think, again, to all of you, so feel free to answer it. It's just around, is there much work interaction between different offices? For example, London and Manchester offices working on the same project. I know this might vary between service lines, so maybe if a couple of you want to answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, I can jump in. I think I'm the only one that's not in London at the moment. So for our team, our sub-service line being transaction diligence, all the grads are based in Edinburgh, and the wider team are a mix of about 40 people down in London and 15 of us up in Edinburgh. So it kind of depends on the project. We have projects where we have a mix of London and Edinburgh people. And so when that happens, we sometimes travel down to London. We have people coming up. I've had projects where we've had to go to a client site in London for like 2 months straight. I've had other colleagues of mine traveling almost for like 3 months every week, which is not the usual case, but there's definitely times where we have to go down within the offices. There's a lot of SAT wide sort of learning event days where we go down to London, and as a bigger team we network and have events together. So and those events, those big ones, they're usually happening once or twice a year. You also have trainings down in London, probably once or twice every 2-3 months. So I think there's a fair amount of interaction between the offices.
Perfect, thank you. Another candidate has asked if there's a lot of travel abroad for clients. Again, that might vary depending on service lines. If anybody would like to answer that one.
I'm happy to answer. It really depends. I think that at least for strategy and execution, it's not the norm to travel super far away, but some cases do have the opportunity. I have one friend who's a new joiner who is in Dubai right now, and I was actually lucky enough on my first case to go to Ethiopia for a couple of days. What's more common is potentially working from client site during a portion of the projects. I know that's particularly common in some of our energy projects. So potentially going somewhere in London or even just outside of London might be a cool opportunity for some people as well.
Perfect, thank you. I think we are at the end of the questions now. We don't have any new ones coming in the chat box. So thank you to all the panelists and for Chrissy for providing your insight. Hopefully that was insightful for you all and you got what you wanted out of the session. So yeah, we can just wrap it up there. Thanks for joining everyone.